So, the topic of this video is addiction. Probably in your life, you've dealt with something that you haven't been able to control fully, something that just kept bugging you because you couldn't convince yourself to commit to 100%. For example, you had some homework that you should have done. This is a very basic example. But you just stayed and played video games. Or you had a task that you wanted to do, but you just sat and did nothing instead and procrastinated. The addiction that I'm going to talk about today is not the general type of addiction in where you're addicted directly to one substance. Actually, the much more dangerous but much less talked about addiction that I think is also prevalent nowadays is the addiction to guilt. What does that mean? When you do something, you have a will to do it. For example, you're working. You feel happy that you finished working. And that is supposed to keep you on track, supposed to keep you disciplined, because you feel good that you accomplished something. At the same time, there are days where you just sit up and you sit at your bed or you go to your desk, but you just find yourself wasting the whole day doing absolutely nothing useful. And you realize you spent the whole day doing nothing. Now, why? Why would you, in your right mind, sit at a table, do nothing for the whole day when you could have been doing productive things, things that you know you should do? There is actually a phenomenon where people get addicted to the guilt that comes from not doing what they're supposed to do. Now this is pretty deep. If you're addicted to the guilt of not doing what you're supposed to do, that means you don't believe you're capable of doing the bigger goal. So let's say your goal for the school year is to get an A+ on this subject. But when you're studying, you procrastinate. And after you procrastinate, you feel really guilty. This feeling of guilt, sometimes we need it to push ourselves, because without that feeling of guilt, we feel comfortable. And if we feel comfortable, we don't feel that burning drive to go and accomplish that goal of getting that A+. So instead of actually doing the work and getting the dopamine or getting the motivation from accomplishing things and feeling like we're on track, we don't do the work, feel like shit, and that's where we get our motivation. It's like climbing out of a pit, but resetting midway, resetting midway because being at the bottom is an easier climb. So if you think there's a pit and at the bottom it's flatter so you can climb more, but at the top it's really steep, so it's much harder to continue going at the top to get to the surface. It's like falling down from the midway line of the pit, going to the bottom and doing that run again from the bottom to feel like you've accomplished again, because it's easier. And the really hard part is staying disciplined and getting to that surface level without losing your consistency. Now, why would that be an issue? Why is it an issue that we don't believe we can achieve these things? Now, I'm sure we do believe, hypothetically, that we can achieve everything. But there's a part of us, and for some this is more prominent than others, there's a part of us that believes that we can't achieve this. And that part of us is the part that takes us on the path of procrastination. Back to the bottom. Just so we can feel more accomplished by taking a couple steps forward, then take the exact or more steps back. And somehow that marginal accomplishment that we feel gets us by. And because we get by the marginal accomplishment and staying in that loop, we don't have the need to change. That's the problem of many ambitious young people. There's a lot to accomplish, and the goals we set for ourselves are very large. And there's no clear roadmap on how to get everything except for just work at it. There's no in-between rewards. There's no system in place that's clear. Our parents did not live this kind of life. Our parents lived a life where it was pretty straightforward for them. They chose a degree or they chose a path, they took it, and they didn't have to do anything more than that. That's the bell of our university. Maybe this is taking too long. I'll cut it down. We need new education. We need awareness for young people on how to achieve their goals. It can't stay vague. The education system is not set out to fulfill young people's dreams and young people's wants nowadays. It's a very old system. And I don't think anyone's found the answer yet. Now, I'm not here to offer an answer. I'm here to offer my opinion, which is find people who are not normal. If you're not normal, don't try to fit in with the normal. It's good to be able to fit in with the normal, but don't try to force yourself to be normal as well. It won't work out for you. If you try to maintain a normal life but have extraordinary goals, I believe that's where the break in the mindset comes, because it's a break in a mindset. You have the goals, you have the vision, but it's a discipline where we lack. And if we surround ourselves with people who find it totally okay to give up on something halfway through, then over time we get coerced into a mindset that we didn't choose. It's very important to surround yourself with the right people. You know, I used to say, I don't need the right people around me because I got it. I mean, I have my own mindset, and my friends are just my friends. You know, even if they're normal, they're just my friends, and they're not going to affect how I live my life. And that was true. But you get to a certain point where when you face struggles, when you face difficulties, you need something to fall back on. That's what you need. You need something to fall back on, whether it's just for a little bit. A strong foundation, a strong friend circle that will not allow you to fall back into that normal mindset. How to find these friends? You know, it's interesting because we find normal people in normal places. We find abnormal people, well, maybe that's a bad term for it, but we find, let's call it, special people in special places. As a man, for example, if you're very ambitious and you're looking to increase your masculinity and confidence and, you know, self-esteem, general ability, then you go to a gym. And in not a sports gym, not a working out gym, a fighting gym, a martial arts club, MMA gym, boxing gym, kickboxing, BJJ, That's where you will find men who have a life, but also dedicate time to their physicality. And as a man, your physicality is super important for everything you do. For everything you do, your physicality is number one. Because we've all heard of the brain and the muscle, right? If you could imagine one person as completely having the brain, one person completely having the muscle, both devoid of each other, you imagine incomplete people. Because having the brain fully is not useful, it's not effective. And having the muscles fully is also not effective. To become an effective man, you cannot just have one or the other. You must have everything to an extent. Now, if you have the brains already, then you should work on your physicality. If you have the physicality, you should work on your brains. That means educating yourself, means enriching your knowledge of the world and of its history and of how the world works. For that, you need friends who you can talk to about interesting topics. Is that anyone? No. Is it easy to find? No. But you can't lower your standards, because the moment you stop believing in your fate, in the universe that revolves around you, the universe will stop believing in you. If you stop believing in those people, in the existence of those people that can help you, that can be a part of your circle for the better good of you, then those people will also not look for you. They won't see you. You have to actively be chasing all of these things all the time. And you're gonna have downfalls, and you're gonna have struggles. But it's important to always get back up. It's never worth it giving up and saying, okay, I raised my 10 fingers, I surrender. That's never, ever the right answer. Find a way to do what you want to do and make the world a better place. Do it for yourself, do it for the people around you, do it for the ones you love, and do it for the ones who love you. You have a responsibility to accomplish things that are not necessarily fun or easy. This only applies to people who really give a shit about making a difference. And I'm not putting down people who don't, it's just, this doesn't apply to you. It applies to you who thinks that the world is there to be enjoyed, to be lived, to be loved, and to be explored. That's who we are as men. We're explorers. And as soon as we lose that curiosity and we lose that passion for life, we develop just a boredom, complete boredom of whatever we do, and we become boring individuals. That's the last thing that should happen to a young man, becoming boring. You should be able to sit there and talk about an infinite amount of topics without judging, without doing anything. Just talk about it with energy, with passion, with a fire in your eyes. Because there's everything to talk about. And be passionate. Be passionate about it, because that's the fire that can drive you. Diligence and passion.